Welcome everybody to Scarves and Spikes on a We Didn't Lose Wednesday.
We didn't win
True.
either. If you're a glass half empty person, you'd say
Well,
that, of course.
I just opened a drink, so I am glass full right now. How's it going,
What are you
guys?
drinking, by the way? Why
I'm
don't
drinking
you
a
share with the class here?
oh, I found these at the festival I was at, Neutral, and
Yeah.
it's like a White Claw, but we I took a sip before the show started, and I thought I had like a seizure because it was the flavor was just like in my face, and Henry looked like asking me if I was okay, but
This happened like minutes before we went live. So
Right.
like, are we having an emergency here? Like, I'd offer to run over, but you're in Ohio. So
Take a bullet train or something like that. Really fast bullet train.
yeah,
That doesn't exist, but
It's
that's neither here
fantastic.
nor there.
with another sip.
Take another sip. I like it.
Sponsor us, Neutral. Well, today is the day. In case anyone was wondering, Mark Followill will be joining us from MLS Season Pass. But why a lot of people are excited is because we are doing the drawing for EAFC 26,
Yes.
and we got a lot of names this time around. We got a lot of people that entered. Have you guys tried it yet?
I have not. Henry, have you tried it?
I have not. Has
Uh,
it released already?
If
No,
you
it
had
released on Friday, right?
the Ultimate Edition, it came out I think on Friday, and then if you have like Xbox Game Pass, they give you like 10 hours or something for free to
Yeah.
play
Gotcha.
to try it out. So people want to try it, you could obviously go on and try it for about I think 10 hours to 12 hours, whatever it is, to see if you like it. Because I thought last year's game was trash, but this year's seems to Zilf, I'll enter you. There's time. I'll get you in there. But yeah,
Zilf, only if you admit that Alexei Moranchuk is not the right number 10 for this team.
So I have a story for you guys about EA Sports FC 25. Are you guys familiar with Mark Goldbridge? He's the Manchester United content creator. I don't tell me if you know him or Henry.
no.
I know you're shaking your head,
Yeah.
yes, but no,
Aren't
he
you a United fan?
yeah.
I feel like you would have at least had to have seen one of his reactions at some point.
No, absolutely. But no, I remember I was watching him play EA Sports FC 25 last year or several months back, and it was in the cup competition. I can't remember if it was the Champions League or the Carabao Cup or something like that, but he ended up winning in penalties against, I believe it was Bournemouth. I could be wrong, but he ended up winning, advanced apparently to the next round, which I think was the finals, and then come to find out, the gang kind of screwed him and it knocked him out of the competition. So that was a real point of, I'm sure, frustration for him, which I wouldn't wish that on anybody. That sucks.
I've been playing a few hours of this game,
Yeah.
and it's fast. Like some of these games, like it's crazy how like the games are the same but they're different. Like they rarely ever make major changes. Like once
Right.
every like 6 years they make a big one. But
Yeah.
it's moving fast again, which I like. I don't like when just everyone's moving super slow. But yeah, it's pretty good. I did, when we were doing our reaction show, we found out that Hibbert was a 50 something. So I did upgrade him.
Disrespect, man.
I mean,
How
his
dare
picture's
they.
not even in the game.
I know.
Wow.
He's I mean, his picture's not even there. I mean, a lot of players are real bad, but the
Yeah.
starting lineup, I mean, Latte Lot didn't go down as much as I thought he was going to. But hey, I beat Miami. I sent it to the battered Herons. I
There you
beat
go.
a guy 8-1. Shout out to that guy because he didn't quit. Like I would have quit at that point. I just would have raged, threw the controller at the wall. It turned off. But it's that time of the year. It's a great time to play EFC. So 2 copies
Yeah.
we're giving away today. Got the name of Wheels. So after our interview with Mark, we will come back here and give away 2 copies. So if you got a PlayStation, you got an Xbox, Game Boy. Zilf probably has no idea what a Game Boy is, but we'll give it away here.
On way back. That's like the Dark Ages right there, the Game Boys.
Oh yeah. Well, I did something I haven't done in a long time. I went back and actually watched the game from Saturday again.
Did you?
I was I don't know. I was just sitting on the couch, had nothing to do. There's nothing on TV, and I wanted to go. I didn't watch the first half. I could not watch that, but
Yeah,
I wanted to go back, just watch the team attack. And while I think a lot of it was San Diego just not playing their game and turning off, I still liked what Atlanta was able to do in this game because I know
sure.
last game when you go back to the Crew game, it was okay. I mean, they're up 5-0. They're done. You know, they kind of just let off the gas pedal, and that was it. But this game, I mean, it was a game that they absolutely needed to win to
Yeah,
remain at the top of the West, remain or try to continue to gain momentum on the supporter shield. And man, they really blew it.
yeah,
And like I we've talked about it before with other MLS broadcasters, but I still go back to the travel of going, you know, all the way from the West Coast to the East Coast. But
hmm
usually when you see teams, and this goes for the NHL, the NBA, the
NFL.
NFL, it's the first half is usually it takes them a while to wake up. And then the second half, they're like, "Oh, okay, we're in the game now and we're ready to go." But it was the exact opposite of San Diego. I mean,
Mm.
they obviously had a lot of opportunities in the first half, and they did the second. And Sydney, you were right because when I was on Sunday, I'll blame the gummies on that one. But I said like
Scummy
I was like,
salt.
oh, they dominated. Like it was like 99-1 control of the game, and
Yeah,
it was like a 70-30. I thought maybe
yeah,
65-35 if we're getting specific here. But still, I
yeah,
mean, Atlanta took advantage of what they had there and obviously created chances. But again, it just goes back to this team not being able to finish the chances that they had. And there were a couple ones that absolutely. I mean, I joked around with the XG. I think was 2 point something, 2.6 or something, or 2.9, whatever.
yeah, something like that.
2.5 to
Felt like 8.
1.3.
Yeah,
It felt like 8. Like, it felt like 8 just in that half, like, when you watch those games, and that's what you've wanted the entire season, and that's what we got early
right.
on in the season, right? Like, that's early on in the year, the offense wasn't broken. They weren't scoring, but there were chances that were getting created over and over and over in these games, and now then the chances stopped, and then the defense completely broke down. But the offense was back, and again, I know that San Diego was giving them some of those chances. I just wanna see that for the rest of the season. I want this New England game, a game that is with 2 teams that have really nothing to play for except a super draft
Yeah,
order there, that I wanna see Atlanta be able to turn it on and be able to give us something. Like, defensively, we've talked about, like, because this.
confidence.
Right, and this window has been all about defense, and then you have the Crew
Mm.
game, and then we're like, "Okay, well, that was a major fail." But offensively,
Yeah,
you still got your guys back. Latte Lath is back here, which I still don't know why he's playing anymore in this season at all. Just let the dude rest. But if he's gonna play, if Alexi's gonna play, Miguel's gonna play, I need to see some chemistry on this field for the last 4 games.
yeah, and I we're gonna ask. I think we're gonna ask Mark this a little bit later on, but my big question is, and we've brought this up numerous times. Latte Lot is just a matter of, hey, he just needs some time off because he came on. You know, he was playing in the championship with Middlesbrough, and then he came right over to Atlanta United. He hasn't really had any rest guys since, I don't know, the last championship season ended. So that's about in between the previous championship season he played. Um, that's the last time he had rest. I feel like that's affected him in some form and fashion. But I wonder if that's just the magic pill, the solution that we need, and for Almiron too, to get them, back active, get them in the form that they need to be to help this team win. That's kind of like my working theory, and I feel like, again, it's kind of like something we've discussed numerous times. I want to get Mark's opinion on it as well.
It could be. I
Yeah.
mean, that's a reasonable theory for sure. You know, like you said, Latte Lot's gone over a year at this point of just consistent soccer, being a starter, even that's hard, right?
Mhm.
And that certainly has a factor to it. Miggy, I think less so because he wasn't really a consistent starter with Newcastle. Uh, that little part of the season that he played. So I mean that transition was a little different, I think, but he didn't really have a preseason. I think he had maybe like 1 or 2 preseason games at
Looked
that
really
point.
good against San Diego, by the way, I should add.
Yeah,
Like you mentioned
and
the other
that's
day
the other
too.
thing that I was going to go to. Like, people are going to look at this performance that he had and say, "Oh, he should play on the left all the time." And I think that's misleading. I think
Mm,
it's he wasn't the most effective on the left. I thought he was most effective when he cut inside and when he operated down the
mm.
middle, just like he did in the Columbus game. And this team was able to spark chances that way. And I will die on this hill that Miguel Marone is the best number 10 that this team has right now. That
I
Alexei
agree.
Mronchuk is not nearly as creative enough to play that position. Yeah, I just, for me, Miggy is being played out of position, and that's hindering this team. That's part of the reason why the attack is hindered, but also the fact that there's really no bite, no danger from the wings, and that's been a consistent problem, I think, for a while. Um, but especially
Yeah.
this season, Saba has not been, the Saba that we had in 2024, 2023. He hasn't been, uh, he hasn't just hasn't been as sharp, I think. And we thought, oh, it's because he's not being played on the right. Well, he got played on the right this game, and he got played on the right last game, the Columbus game. He still wasn't effective. He's just not the type of guy that will maybe take on people, that will not, you know, kind of. I don't see him being as definitive per se
Yeah. I
inside the
guess
box, in and around the
yeah.
box.
What changed? I mean, what changed with him is what I'm wondering. Like he
Yeah,
was great last year and nowhere near that this year.
I don't know, man. I mean,
Yeah.
he could be getting a little bit older. He's 31. That's not super old, but maybe that has an effect. Different coach that might be asking different things of him. Honestly, I don't
Yeah.
know. It's hard because it's not like Saba was like a world beating winger,
Yeah.
Denny
Right.
Bouanga level last season, and then just tremendously fell
Would
off.
be nice though.
He's always been kind of average, I want to say. And this year, like most of the players on this roster, he has been less than average. And part of that, I think, is also the fact that this team as a whole has just not performed. And so that's the main problem for me. I think, this offseason, where we've already heard Chris Henderson say that they're going to be busy again, that window, I think you really need to reinforce the wings. Obviously, you don't have any DP slots. If one opens up, say moving a certain Russian midfielder,
Hmm.
that would, ideally, you would bring in a pure winger DP. That I don't see that happening right now, because I'm not sure who would go and offer for one of the DPs on this roster. But that is a possibility, I think. If you don't, then you definitely have to get like a TAM level, or like at least a U22 or something like that. Just something new. Bring someone that can just destabilize defenders, destabilize backlines from the wide areas, and can really, really create danger from the chances that Miggy and some of these other folks are creating, because they are getting the balls in the good areas. It's just what happens from there. Once that
Yeah.
initial ball is played, it's like, what do you do now? And it feels like no one has any idea what to do once they get the ball and, like, the edge of the box.
So let me kind of throw something out there at you guys and let me know what you think. You mentioned Saba, Henry, 31 years old or close to it. Garth Lagerwey and Chris Henderson have said we want to bring in prime age players 23 to 29. So you get to the further end of that spectrum. They're not prime age players after a couple of years, right? I mean, I feel like that degradation or that downturn in their game kind of happens at that 29, 30-year-old year, right? So I feel like that's sort of a little bit of a flaw in Lagerwey and Henderson's sort of approach. Now, listen, they're a lot smarter than me when it comes to roster decisions. I'm not being paid by the team to make those decisions for them, but that's sort of the working theory that I have. And Saba Henry is a perfect example of that. He's kind of hit a wall. He's almost 31 years old, past that prime age, and his form has sort of taken a downturn. And I feel like that's sort of a conversation we maybe need to have about this team. Maybe kind of think outside of that 23 or 29-year-old sort of archetype that you want to bring in. Not to say there's anything wrong with it, but sort of something I was thinking about the other day. It's kind of been, I don't know, it's bothering me, but it's sort of been in the back of my mind.
It's a legit
What do you
point.
guys think?
It's a legit point. And I think particularly for wingers, really any attackers, once you get to like the 29, 30, the fall off is even more noticeable.
Because you're running more, right?
Exactly. You're running more. A lot of your game is predicated on pace and your ability to beat defenders by being fast. And that obviously goes down as you go from your prime, right? So honestly, with Saba, if I remember correctly, he was brought in at 27, 28 years old, something like that. Does that sound about right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he was on the later end of the prime age years. Because if I remember correctly, the actual range that they talked about was like 24 to 29, right? So they brought in a guy that was very late in that window, right? In that time frame. And I think for wingers especially, you probably want to get someone that is closer to like 24 or 23, about to turn 24, so that you can actually, Silva's saying 29.
Yeah.
So you literally got him as soon as he was going to become past his prime. And I think that's a little bit of an oversight on the team's part. But that is a thing that I will say. I think if you're going to go get attackers, you need to at least get them on the lower end of that spectrum. Even if you're not going to get like U22 players, at least get them like 24, 25, max 26, I would say, so you can at least have them for 3, 4, 5 seasons at the minimum, because then you have that stable core, right? You know who you're counting with. You don't have to move around a lot. And I think that's the idea with these prime age players, right? Is to build a core that can be competitive for 4 or 5 seasons down the line. And that's the idea with bringing in players like Berrocal, with Mihai, who are 26. These are guys that the idea is you will stick around and be our starting center back pairing for the next 4 to 5 seasons. I think that's the idea with the rest of the roster as well. But in order to do that, you can't get someone who is about to be out of their prime or is already out of their prime.
Yeah.
Word.
Do you agree or disagree, Tommy?
I agree. Absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of things that this team needs to figure out. Honestly, I think I've really fixed everything for Atlanta United. I saw the Columbus lost their brand new striker for 6 weeks, I think.
Yeah,
I heard reports saying he's done for the season. So, 6 weeks is the season.
Columbus has just been ravaged by injury, by the way.
I think they should get rid of Will Fernandez. I think this might be his fault.
It's not for blaming coaches. Why not blame him for Columbus's injuries?
I mean, absolutely. I mean, look, Columbus, if you need help packing his bags, I'll do it. But if there's a team that's city begins and ends with an A, I think they might be interested.
Yeah.
Just saying. Just saying.
I don't know if that will happen, but I mean, it
One
is
can
worth.
dream.
Yeah, one can dream, right? One can dream. But yeah, I mean, I don't want to. Just going back to Columbus, just real quick. Yeah, they've been ravaged by injury, and it's really difficult to see for a team that has been as good as they have. But sort of, kind of bringing back to our conversation. You mentioned, Latte Lot. He's 26. He's turning 27 on New Year's Day, January 1st. So he's not outside of that prime age bracket, but he's close to it. He will be in a couple of years. But here's my other point. If you're bringing in players at that tail end of that prime age spectrum, he had to start over in a couple of years. Sort of like what this team is doing right now is sort of rinse and repeat. One player comes in, he looks good for a couple of years or a few matches, then he drops. I would argue that Miranchuk is sort of in that same boat, right? He is a player that is getting not up there in age, but he will be 30 in a few weeks. So that's sort of, again, out of that prime age range. Again, it's going to be interesting to see how this approach kind of evolves for Atlanta in the winter window, but it's a conversation worth having, I think.
Absolutely. I keep going. I know I'm jumping ahead of myself because we still have matches left, but just trying to think about what this front office is going to do in the winter. If and especially just thinking about if they do not move on from Ronnie and they keep Ronnie and what they're going to do to really spark this team because there's obviously a lot of changes that need to be done because we knew that going into leaving the season that there were going to be spots that were going to be open that you were going to have to fill those. You got the U22 spots, which who knows if those will absolutely Zilf. He says go back to signing U23s from Argentina. I mean, you need to get creative this year or this offseason. And I mean, you got to do something here to get fans excited. And Zilf tweeted about it earlier this week, and I said I've been talking about this on the show for a month now. Like next year, you can you always have something to build on to tell the fans like this is what you should be excited for. Is that Jaden Hibbert is our new starter? Like Brad Guzan's
Maybe,
retired, and
maybe,
that's what it is. Okay, like
yeah,
it's a change,
a new
and
era.
Hibbert all of a sudden becomes the marketing guy there.
Yeah,
But still, like you gotta convince some people here, and let's face it, you had a lot of people that backed out of tickets last season, and a lot of them still, even with Miguel Almiron coming on with Latte Lath, they said, "Prove it." I need to see this before I jump back on board and start calling my old ticket rep to get
yeah,
back in or to buy tickets. And I talked to someone about this about a couple months ago, and they're like, "Yeah, I made the right decision. I got a little seller's remorse when Miggy signed because you back out way earlier than when all that happens. But
yeah,
then I was like, all right, well, let's just see what happens and go from there. And there really hasn't been. I mean, it got worse.
yeah.
It got worse when you added these players on here, and that's really the thing here is, like, sell me why I should fly out for the home opener. I mean, that's or sell
Um,
someone that's gonna go take their family, there. I mean,
Can I
it
make a
was
quick point to
yeah.
what you're talking about? How do you excite fans for 2026? Now we're kind of half joking about Hibbert, being the starting goalkeeper, but maybe that's how you sell the team. Okay, we have a new era, we have fresh new blood, we have Brennan, we have Cobb, maybe we have these fresh youngsters who are coming out from the academy. Jay Fortune, if he returns. So you have players like that. Maybe that's the marketing play that you go toward. Now, I don't, I work in
It's not
marketing.
flashy. It
Not
really
as,
isn't.
it's
Is
not.
there anything
It's not.
flashy that
But
you can do this offseason, assuming that you don't move one of the DPs?
Do you know
Because
what it is? Do you know
what's
what it is?
what?
what's that?
I'm not saying they should do this. Let me just start with that.
Oh boy.
I'm not saying they should do this. Tata
What is it?
Martino.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, I mean,
Might as well go
I
full in
mean,
on
it's,
Look, I'm
nostalgia.
just, well,
right.
exactly. That we saw how Miguel Almiron
Exactly.
has worked here. But
Exactly.
I'm just saying, if there's something that could get people a little excited. Oh, see, yeah, great
You
minds,
to the
great
point,
minds.
like, yeah, to the point that you brought in Almiron and it's not been working thus far. I feel like a lot of fans are kind of thinking that, oh, they brought Almiron in as a marketing play, just as a hood ornament. I feel that some fans might think it's the same for Tata based on what he did, or based on sort of that same concept, right?
Now, here's the thing, though, Sydney,
Yeah,
because I think it's a little different. Because when we're talking about one player versus a coach and architect, right?
yeah,
Because Tata, is a brilliant mind and an architect
Yeah.
of great
Yeah.
teams. He built the project that was this team initially.
Yeah.
Set the identity, set what it meant to, really play for Atlanta United back then, and, chose players that were ultimately successful because
So Miggy came over.
he is an elite talent evaluator. And he did that here. And then he went and did it along with Chris Henderson in Miami. And that was a powerhouse. Like, I have full faith that he can do it again. And we're talking about he would have 3, well, right now it's 2, but most likely 3 U22 slots at his disposal that he will almost definitely use well, right? Plus several roster slots that are going to get cleared with contracts and such. He'll have Miggy, who, by the way, I think Tata being here will make Miggy better. First of all, because Tata's a coach that Miggy himself has said he admires a lot.
Yeah.
Right? That, he considers him a friend and everything. Tata knows how to use Miggy, knows his best position, knows that, he's played the 10 before in his life. And I just think that would give me a lot more hope for this team as someone with that mind and who works well with Chris Henderson, right? Because his main one of the main reasons he left was disagreements with, the front office.
Yeah.
That's what we've heard.
Well, what if it doesn't work though? Just devil's advocate. What if it doesn't work?
I mean,
if
it
it doesn't
work,
work,
right
then
now.
I think you're just cursed at this point, and you sell the franchise to Winnipeg, because at this point we've tried everything, haven't we? We've gotten 2 top-tier executives in MLS.
Yeah.
You got 1 MLS Cup and Supporter Shield winning coach. If that doesn't fix it, then nothing will.
barring bringing Tata back, I mean, this is, I mean, there's no understanding that this is a huge window for Atlanta United. And I think, I've mentioned this before, and I'll say it again. If Ronnie Deila doesn't start winning in 2026, I would give him 10 matches before he's gone. And then maybe those discussions. 5 matches, you think even less?
Then you don't bring him back. I'm sorry if you're driving and my volume went really high. I apologize. I apologize for that. But
at least
you do not go into a season saying we're going to give this guy 5 games. 5 games mean don't bring him back.
Well, I know if it was up to me, he'd be gone.
This small.
But at least you give him a winter window to. This is his first really, really big window, though. I think the play is have him. I'm outside of the summer, obviously, but this is the first time he's really had to sit down and say, "This is players I want," sort of the realm of in the form of Alzate. So I think the front office was willing to give him that benefit of the doubt to say, "Hey, these are players that aren't in my plans for 2026. Let me bring in players who fit my style, who I'm comfortable with, who I think I can win with." And then if it doesn't work for I know you guys are saying 5, I say 10 games, or you can't either way. You
That's a
can't
third
get
of the season, Sydney.
Yeah, but either way, you can't get too far into 2026 and still suck, right? I think we can all agree.
I think you can. I think we've been. What is this going on year 6 of mediocrity?
Yeah,
it can definitely get worse, man. It could definitely continue sucking. Atlanta has sucked this entire decade, dude.
Here's the risk.
20s.
Yeah.
Has been a terrible decade for Atlanta so far. I'm just look. If it was up to me, I will say it again. In any serious league, in any serious club, in any serious league in the world,
right?
Ronnie Deila would not have made it through May with the results.
I agree. I agree.
And it's incredible that this club has stuck by him this far, and that they are willing to go another season with him.
Oh, we'll see. We'll see.
My Apple Watch just told me my heart rate is up.
Calm it down a little bit, Tommy.
This is what you did.
Calm it down.
This is what you did.
We had to take a breath, relax.
Let's reset.
Just reset.
How are we going to reset, Sydney?
I think I know a way we can reset. Mark Followill from MLS Season Pass, who was with us actually in the first year we did this in 2023. I think he joined us in April 2023. So good to have Mark back with us. Mark Followill, MLS Season Pass. How are you? Welcome back.
Good. How's it going?
Not too bad. Not too bad. I mean,
I'm speaking to you from outside at my house tonight. here in Dallas. We've had a nice little change in the weather today. It's a very pleasant night. It's about 80 degrees outside, and plus the dogs will be making a lot of noise inside. So I
No
thought
problem.
I talked to you guys from outside tonight.
Mark, real quick before we get going, I saw your name today that you were coming on, and
Yeah.
the name sounded familiar because, and I think you're him. If it's not, I'm gonna sound like a total idiot, and then we could just
Okay.
move forward.
Oh
But
gosh.
I go back and I like watching old games, whatever sport. I like all the sports. I go back and watch it, and I went back and watched Oregon versus Texas Tech.
Yeah.
Did you do
Okay.
that game?
I did.
That is one of my favorite Oregon games of all time. And I went back today and I listened to the voice, and then when you came out, I was like, "That's him. That's
Yeah.
him."
Well, thank you. Thank you. That was a fun game. I do about a half dozen games every year for the Big Ten Network. And of course, they're predominantly their ownership is Fox. I think it's about a 60-40 split these days between Fox Sports and the Big Ten Conference. And so every once in a while, something comes up where I get switched and they have a manpower shortage on some weekend on Fox and they need somebody. And so that week I just happened to switch, and it was nice because I live in Dallas. So that was an easy trip to go out to Lubbock. And I know a lot of people out there. So that was a fun game. That ended with not ended, but the dagger, if you will, was Jeffrey Basha, right? With the pick six. Is that the name of the linebacker that had the pick six with about a minute to go in the game?
Correct, and I covered the spread and won quite a bit of money on that.
I don't
off
know
that
anything
play.
about all that other stuff. I don't know anything about that.
All right, Cindy,
I
you
don't
go
know
back to
anything about
MLS
our friends out
questions.
in the desert.
I'm glad it's
Right.
you.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
don't
that
want to
was
get
a
Mark
fun
in
game,
trouble.
man. That was a lot of fun, that game. That was, it's always unique to go to Lubbock, Texas. Great atmosphere there, and I remember talking to Dan Lanning that week, and the thing that made that thing go well, I thought, was I was really like, you try to be buttoned up whenever you go into any interview situation, but I heard Dan Lanning, and it's like, he was so short in his media availability, and it's like, oh gosh, this is going to be really weird on the production meeting call. But we had Mark Helfrich on that broadcast with me. He's a former coach at Oregon, so that was a good icebreaker. And then when it got around to my time to ask questions, I said, well, I watched your game last week, and I thought you really asked your receivers to do a lot in the passing game from a blocking downfield standpoint. Like, you throw a lot of screens and the receivers have to block. And I'm just kind of wondering if that's a point of Memphis. And he was like, thank you for noticing that. So I asked like a pertinent football question, and that got me on his good side. So I've always been kind of a Dan Lanning fan since then.
Well, sorry, Georgia fans, if you're listening, that I moved it over to the Oregon game.
Well, hey, at least I didn't wear my Alabama hat. I had my Alabama.
Oh yeah, don't do that this week.
I did my master's degree. I did my master's degree at Alabama, so I had my Crimson Tide hat on last time. So instead, I'm going with I'm rocking the Mount Washington, New Hampshire Weather Observatory hat tonight.
Very nice.
Awesome. Well, we've been talking over the past couple of weeks because we'll get to Atlanta United, but obviously they have not been doing very well this season at all.
No, they haven't.
But we've been talking about just MLS in general, and we had Kevin Egan on last week just talking about who's going to win the Supporter Shield, who is going to go into this best of 3 series and be able to maybe sneak out a bottom seed, making an upset here. But I guess we'll just start with the Supporter Shield. Is this like the most open you have seen it in a long time?
Yeah, because there's still 4 or 5 teams that are in the mix on this. And it's really hard to make a prediction on it because I could make an argument. I mean, look, Philadelphia is leading it. So obviously, that they've got pole position, if you will. But look, Cincinnati's having a great year. Denke and Evander have been fabulous for them this year, and they've won it before. Look, I haven't analyzed everybody's schedule, so obviously that has something to do with it. But the other thing about MLS is, man, in this league, I feel like when you get late in the year, the results start getting weirder. And I don't have like any sort of like scientific research that I've done on this project. Just my feeling is that the later the year goes on, maybe the teams that are out of the playoff picture don't feel any pressure. Maybe it's they play young guys who just go out there and just throw caution to the wind. But I think when you get late in the year in MLS, results that you would look at and say, well, on paper, this is what should happen, then though that like the on paper stuff really goes out the window, I feel like in the last 2 or 3 weeks of the year. So I haven't analyzed everybody's schedule, but that probably would be a fool's errand anyway, because there's going to be some squirrely results along the way. But I think that the Supporter Shield race is wide open. And I think that the Eastern Conference, and this is going to tie into some of our Atlanta United talk, I think, ultimately. Man, the Eastern Conference is so good. And just quite frankly, there's a gap between the East and the West. I think if you're watching the league, I think we could all be real and have real talk and say that there is absolutely, the numbers bear this out. Somebody's going to miss the playoffs in the Eastern Conference who probably has a point total in the high 40s. And 2 teams are probably going to make the playoffs, or at least the 8-9 slots in the Western Conference, who have point totals in the low to mid 40s. And I think that's one numerical way to look at it. But I just look at Philadelphia, Cincinnati, Charlotte's gotten on such a great, extended run this year. New York City FC, Columbus, Orlando. I mean, when I did the Orlando Atlanta game earlier this year, and I thought going into that game, man, Orlando's so good. And then, they had a meltdown in that game in Atlanta and lost that game to Atlanta United, as you guys remember. Thrilling comeback for Atlanta United. But I still think I look at Orlando's roster and they're really good. And Columbus is down there. And it's just, there are so many good teams in the East that somebody who is a 6 or 7 seed, maybe even an 8 seed, like Atlanta did last year, somebody is going to be in position to come out of the first 2 out of 3 first round series with an upset, I think. I mean, because just the depth of the Eastern Conference is so good. There's just a 6 or 7 seed team that isn't really a 6 or 7 seed team. It's just the way it's kind of worked out because the depth is so impressive in the East.
Well, and you talk about the weird results. I mean, just look what happened with Atlanta and San Diego this week. I mean, everybody
There you go.
thought that San Diego was going to come in and pull a 5-0 in the first half, like Columbus did the week before to us.
Well, look, CJ Dos Santos. I mean, if you go back, obviously, and you guys watched the game, I mean, Dos Santos made some big saves in that game. Atlanta had every chance to win that game. They created, especially in the second half, quality scoring chances that were absolutely worthy of winning. If you don't have a goalkeeper for the other team, make some outstanding saves. So yeah, Atlanta played well in that game last week, and certainly could have walked away from that feeling like, man, we should have gotten more out of this than we actually did.
Quickly, we're talking about the standings. I wanted to ask you about just the Western Conference, and Supporter Shield is wide open at this point, but let's look at the Western Conference standings, and 5 teams, including, of course, FC Dallas team, of course, you're very familiar with.
Yeah.
From 8th to 12th, separate by 5 points. So definitely gives a lot of credence to the fact that it's just so compressed in the West, and I feel like that could go down to the decision day, which teams do make the playoffs and which teams will be left out of those 5 teams that I was just talking about.
Yeah, I think it will. I think there's, again, I haven't looked at everybody's schedule other than FC Dallas, and they have a somewhat difficult run in. 3 of their last 4 on the road, but 2 of their games they are against LA Galaxy, who obviously, they're kind of out of the mix. But Houston's got some winnable games in there. Colorado's got some tough games still left on their schedule too. So that, yeah, I think that Western Conference, I think that the last couple of spots in the West aren't going to be figured out until decision day. And quite frankly, I don't think that a lot of the 1 to 4 or 5, I think, maybe somebody separates themselves. And so maybe one is locked down going into decision day, but there's 3 or 4 spots in the middle rung of the standings. Like there's going to be teams fighting going on decision day, win, and we're going to have home field advantage and get to host 2 of the 3 games if the first round series goes that long, lose, and you're out of the top 4. I think that's absolutely in play over on the Western Conference side of things.
And I mean, just that gap that we were talking about, you mentioned that there's going to be teams in like, the mid to high 40s in the East that won't make the playoffs. I mean, 8th place, Columbus has 50 points, right? And they are in the play-in spot, not even like the direct playoff qualification spot, which is wild. You go over to the Western Conference, that would be good for 4th, 5th place, right?
Yep.
So, I mean, that just shows you, I guess, the gap in quality, because like you said, and we talked about it. We talked about it on our MLS show on Monday. In the East, third place and eighth place are separated by 3 points, which is absolutely wild to me.
And I think you can make, like, I mean, maybe I'm repeating myself a little bit. I think if you were talking about playoffs, you could look at the East and you could make an argument for all of these teams that and look, all playoffs are somewhat ifs, of course, but I just think there's a lot of teams in the East who are strong enough that you could put out some, well, if things break the right way for them, they have a chance. There's some years you look at teams, and with all due respect, I mean, you look at them, you say, okay, well, they've had a nice little year and it's great they made the playoffs, but they're not going to do any damage when they get there. And when I look at the Eastern Conference, I think it's very, very hard to assess and handicap that, because I think there's a case to be made for the top 8 teams. Stronger cases, obviously, for some of those teams than others. But man, I look up and down the 8 teams of the Eastern Conference, and I see quality, amongst all those teams. And again, I think, you guys, it sounded like you were having a pretty spirited discussion about the state of things with Atlanta United. And look, I'm, coming on your guys' podcast, and I kind of thought about, well, what's gone on with Atlanta this year? I kind of assumed we would get into that. And obviously there's some other things besides just the quality of the conference, but I think that is at least something. And maybe a lot of your viewers might disagree. And maybe, people who are there all the time and see it all the time see the flaws that there are. And obviously there have been some flaws in performances, especially by, high dollar players this year. But man, I think some of where and why Atlanta is in the boat that they're in right now with regard to the table is when you have to play 28 of your 34 games against the East compared to 28 of the 34 games against the Western Conference, I think that's at least some part of the equation this year. And maybe that's somewhat of an excuse, which people don't necessarily want to hear right now, but I do think there's some legitimacy to that.
So you started to get into that, and let's take it back to Atlanta now. You started talking about the schedule, the difficulty of playing these Eastern Conference teams, where there are many that one could even consider contenders beyond the top 3 or 4 teams. But besides that, what else do you see that could be causing all the struggles that Atlanta United has had this season?
Well, I hate to oversimplify it, but looking at it from the perspective I look at this from, the reason why so many of the other teams in the conference have fared well is the players that have had a lot of money spent to bring them in, either this year or in years previous, are producing. And I mean, just quite frankly, the big money expenditures for Atlanta haven't produced. And it really, really hurts in this league when you spend a lot of money and you have expectations for someone and they come in and they don't produce. I really just, more than anything. And the other thing too is, look, I think that from my not up close view of it, I've got a little bit of a farther out perspective, but from prepping for Atlanta games that I've had broadcasts for, there's just not a whole lot of like backline continuity. There's been people in and out of the mix. And so, I don't look at Atlanta United and say, well, they have like a clearly established group, like a clearly established back line that has a chance to play together and develop continuity. And obviously, and I think, by the way, the right decision was made to go a different direction at goalkeeper and give Hibbert his chance. I mean, I love given the situation they're in, I love turning the page and starting to give young guys a look. But obviously, then that's another part of the equation. I didn't feel like there was ever a lot of continuity that I saw on the back line. And then you don't have a chance to develop that continuity between back line and goalkeeper when you make a change, which again, I think it was the right change. But, to me, it's like, it's lack of continuity in the back, lack of like a consistent group. And I mean, again, maybe this is an oversimplification, but the big money players haven't played like big money players. And when you look around, again, referring back to the Eastern Conference, Baribo in Philadelphia, Vander and Denke in Cincinnati. Obviously, the guy, I mean, we all know who's performed very well down in who gets the big money and who's performed well down there. The best players for Orlando, for the most part, have risen to the occasion. So you just go, Pep Biel has had a great year, obviously, with Charlotte. He was brought in to do great things, and I think he's a double-digit goal and double-digit assist player as well. So, The big money players for the other teams in the East have performed up to that standard, and unfortunately for Atlanta, the big money players have not performed up to the expectation.
I know I've kind of been hogging the mic a little bit, but I have to get this in. Talking about big money players, the big money player going into this season was Emmanuel Latte-Lat. At the time, the league record signing, now club record signing, but 22 million, an insane amount, right? For this league at least. And he's sitting on 7 goals, 2 assists, I think is the actual number by MLS standards.
Yeah, and I think that's only, not to interrupt, but I think that's only 2 goals since the 1st of April, right? A lot of the 5 of the 7 goals.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like you just talked about, you spend all that money on this type of player, and he's not really producing. That hurts you. But do you think in the case of Latte-Lat, is it as simple as, give him another season, give him some rest because he's been playing soccer nonstop for like over a year, coming from the championship? He was in the middle of their season when he came over. Is it as simple as that, or is that something deeper? Is this possibly the most expensive, a very expensive bust for Atlanta United?
I'm not going there. I do not feel like that is the case. I mean, time will tell, of course. But if you're asking me today, I mean, I have every reason to believe that, with more time. I mean, look, we have seen it with other players, and sometimes they don't work out, sometimes they do. There is an adjustment to this league. There's an adjustment to travel. There's a stylistic adjustment, and also, strikers have got to get good service to score, and maybe there's activity in the transfer market in the off season, and try to get someone who can put him in better positions to be able to score next year as well. So I'm not anywhere close to that place to write it off as it's some big, bust of a signing and you have to move on from him. I'm not there at all. I think, I know there's the whole sunk costs thing that sometimes people get wrapped up in, and you think, well, gosh, I've spent money on him, so I've got to stick with it. But I don't think we're at that sunk cost stage or anything like that. I think, look, he showed very, very good quality in the first few weeks of the year. To your point, did he run out of gas because he had been playing so long, and it's just he needs 2 or 3 months of not picking up a ball and getting away from it for a little while. And he's, the season's going to end here for Atlanta on October the 18th, I believe. That's decision day. So the season's going to end on October the 18th, and he won't be back until training camp gets going sometime in the middle of January. So maybe it's just because he performed so well at the beginning of the year. I think that probably puts some merit into your thought process of maybe the tank ran out a little bit, a lot too early. After he played really well in the first 6 weeks of the season.
So taking a look at Saturday's match against New England for Atlanta United, and New England are a side that only a few years ago were supporters, or not supporters shield winners, but they're top of the league under Bruce Arena. Of course, we don't know the whole story with what happened with him in New England. He's in San Jose now, but under Caleb Porter, it just fell apart. This team was never able to get to where it needed to be. I feel like there are some similarities to Atlanta. Of course, the Reds has been in the league much longer than Atlanta has, but Atlanta, their time of being good hasn't been relatively that long ago. So when you look at both clubs, how can they get back to where they once were in, back into the MLS Elite?
And you're talking about how does Atlanta get back there, or how does New England get back there?
Both.
Well, look, New England needs, they have a talent deficit. I've had some of their games this year, and there's just not enough up front. Campana hasn't been that consistent. I love Carlos Heel, but he can't do it all on his own, especially as he's getting now up into his mid-30s. Their signings that they've made for striker, and forward and high-quality talent at that position haven't materialized. Thomas Chonkalai got hurt. He hasn't produced at the level that they needed him to, and Langoni hasn't produced at the level that they've needed him to as well. So I think, look, again, I hate to oversimplify it. You're asking how these teams can get back to where they were. And in MLS now, if you're going to go out and spend big money, that player's got to produce. It's just, you know, more teams are doing it. It's happening with more and more clubs around the league. You know, obviously the payroll structure and such has changed since the arrival of Messi, and more money has come into the league, and you know the realization that you've got to spend to be able to keep up. You know, I would compare it on the Western Conference side of things to another team that was really good, Sporting Kansas City. And then I know that Sporting Kansas City's external player expenditure number last year was like 29th of the 29 teams in the league last year. Obviously, now 30 with San Diego coming into the league this year. And, you know, you've got to spend. And when you spend, you've got to hit. And I think if Latte Lot obviously had been, you know, has had more production, but it's not just him. I mean, obviously, Almiron has not been, and he's older, and this, of course, is understandable, but he hasn't produced at the level that he did 8 years ago, which probably was not it's not a fair expectation to hold him to that standard of 7 or 8 years ago. But it's also, you know, when you look, I mean, let's see, I've got my note. Almiron's what, at 5 goals and 7 assists this year. And we're talking about someone who in 2 years had 21 goals and 28 assists. Now, that's a long time ago. And again, that would be too high of a standard maybe to hold him to, but you could also hold him to a higher standard of 5 goals and 7 assists. So I think it's, you know, more hitting, going out and spending successfully. Atlanta obviously spent their spending, obviously for this year hasn't been as successful. You know, and I think that really to me is when you look at a lot of teams around the league, or you just hope that you get a group of guys who just come together. You know, San Diego, their expenditures haven't been like, you know, they've certainly spent some money, but they also had like a real set style of player, and this, you know, they really invested in their like this Right to Dream Academy concept that they're doing. And, you know, they if you talk to Mikey Varis, their coach, it's like we have a certain profile, and that profile is not just the player on the pitch, but off as well. And so that's the other thing too, is can you just create this like great perfect culture of the team then becomes what's the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. You know, I do think that you can do that in MLS. That's a harder way to do it. It's possible. And then there's always the question of, you know, what happens when the playoffs roll around and DP talent then really shines. The other thing too is like take something like, you know, Seattle, and obviously they've gone out and they spend money and they get good players, but also when you have players who are there for a long time, you have a standard. You know, you have when players are there, and Christian Roldan is a great example. And obviously, some of these guys have moved on, but Ladero was there. Stephen Fry's still there. And obviously, he's getting close to the end. But I have a lot of high admiration for Seattle. And obviously, coaching, they have a lot of continuity there with Schmetzer. But also, I think that there is an organizational standard where they had so many players who would spend 6, 7, 8, 9 seasons. I mean, a long stretch of their career there. And then so you have like an organizational DNA and an organizational culture. And I think that's, you know, that's another pathway. But obviously, and these two teams, Atlanta and New England, you know, they don't have a lot of guys who have been there long enough to really have established that organizational culture. So that's probably not the path. The quickest remedy for both of these teams is, in Atlanta's case, hope that you can get the guys you've already spent a lot of money on to play to their paper. And New England's case is probably they're going to have to spend some of that paper to put themselves in a better position.
Well, and we've been talking. So what you're talking about, well, we were a little bit heated before, and it was probably me screaming into the microphone. Was that we've been a conversation has
Yeah.
been about Ronnie Dyla for a lot of the season. Obviously, you go to the coach and you
Mhm.
look at culture, and what's getting created there. And I think, you know, when it was 5-0 against Columbus a couple weeks ago, I went back to college football in my mind. I think about Mike Gundy letting 69 points get scored on him
Yeah.
against Oregon, and then he's fired a couple weeks later. And I'm looking at this situation, and I was like, okay, he's not going to survive this 5-0 game. And then Atlanta came back and scored 4 and almost
Yeah.
and tied the game there. But the schedule for the end of the season for Atlanta is interesting because there's 2 games that you should be expected to win. This game against New England. I mean, they don't have a manager, and obviously they've been struggling as well. You have DC at the end of the year, and then in
And
the
they're struggling
middle
too.
of that,
They've obviously had a
you
tumultuous
have
season.
right. So those are games I think that, the front office is probably saying you need to win these games. But then in the middle of those 2, you've got LAFC in LA, and then you've got Miami, who's obviously, which we weren't sure at that time what they were going to need, and they need
Yeah.
points. So
Yeah.
they're going to go out there. So I am very curious here because we don't know the situation. We don't know how safe
Sure.
Ronnie Dyla is. But you've got it's tricky for him. It's there's no middle games. There's no games where it's like, oh, this is a 50-50 game here. It's 2 games you should win on paper because you have the better players. And then you've got two teams where it's like you might lose 5-0 to those games. But on the bright side of it, though, you just had San Diego, which we all thought we were going to get absolutely
Right.
destroyed in, and it's a 1-1 draw.
And to your point, the comeback against Columbus, and then right before that, they finally got off the schneid with the win against Nashville, right? Who's had, another team in the Eastern Conference who's obviously had a good season. Look, when it's hard for me to speculate from afar about Ronnie's situation. I know that he knows he's won in this league, and to me, that counts for something because he understands what it takes to be able to win at the highest level in this league. Now, whether or not his message is connecting in the way that it needs to with the players who are there, I mean, I'm not in a position to really say, but I would be reluctant to turn away from somebody who has a track record of success. But look, I think I don't look at any of these remaining games. I mean, if it were me, if I were in that situation to make the judgment, I would not be making judgments on, well, if you win the 2 games that you should win, but you don't fare well in the 2 games where you're going to be outclassed significantly from a talent standpoint. I don't think that anything that happens for the rest of their year performance-wise, unless unless the team looks really bad and there's a real sign of there's not a connection between manager and locker room, then that would be obviously a cause for concern. But to me, none of the results that happen for the end of the year are going to be anything that I would use as basis for making a decision. I would be looking at if I'm in a decision-making position there, this guy has shown he can win, but how is he connecting with the group that's here? And are they just, they had untimely injuries and, guys missing from, the wrong position, the wrong positions at the wrong times or whatever. I that's how I would look at it. I don't think that anything's going to happen in terms of results in the last few games that would swing my decision. My decision would be made on things that I'm seeing in terms of how he relates and how the locker room relates to him and how he relates to them. And that would be my thought on it, especially when you've got in your locker that you know what it takes to win. You have demonstrated, I know how to manage a team to the highest possible level to a championship in this league. I would be looking at more of the intangible things rather than, what's going to happen here in the last 4 games of the year.
Check.
But,
That was great.
I know you guys were a lot more fired up about it than that when I got.
Oh, as soon as you leave, I'm going to start yelling
By the
again.
way,
So
it's totally okay. So I'm, I'm parachuting in from the outside, and so obviously I'm going to be way more measured in my analysis of what's going on there. You're seeing all the good, all the bad, all the good, the bad, and the ugly, all of it there, game in, game out. You guys are seeing that. So you've got, you're invested in it in a little bit different way than I am. So I appreciate a good heated debate.
It's been a long season, man.
Man, that is the thing, is when it's a bummer to me. I mean, again, I guess we're kind of exiting the conversation of where we started it. The strength of the Eastern Conference is so good that it's a shame that it's rendered like the end of the season. I mean, I hate to use the word meaningless because every game has meaning, and you're evaluating people, and you're giving young players an opportunity, and like, how are you going to carry yourself, and how are you going to apply yourself and work as a player, even though there's no chance for us to go anywhere as a team. I still think there's important things that you can assess and judge out of that. I really, really do. But from a table perspective, from a playoff perspective, man, it sucks that there's just this big gap in the East, and that 6 teams or whatever it is, I guess what, 1 through 10. So it's 5 teams, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15, that 5 teams are done with essentially a month left in the season from, having quote unquote something to play for. That's a bummer. And when you've got to go through 3 or 4 weeks like that, when you guys are in the thick of it, analyzing it all the time. No, I feel you on that it's been a long season. But the great thing about this league, I'll leave you guys with this, is I have witnessed it with so many teams over the years, is that it can all turn around very, very quickly. And Atlanta is a great, and I mean, San Diego's doing it this year. Atlanta United is a great story in this regard as well. They hit the ground running when they started as an expansion club, and 2017 was really good, and 2018 was obviously great. So, and it's happened with a lot of teams. You can turn it around quickly in this league. And for that matter, the bottom can fall out pretty quickly. Look at LA Galaxy. Now, there's, of course, obviously extenuating circumstances with a Ricky Pooch injury, for example. But I do think that you can turn things around in this league quickly. So I will leave you with that bit of positivity here at the end, because I don't want you guys all down, man. That makes me sad. It makes me sad to hear you guys down. So
well, we appreciate it.
That's my little pep talk here for the end.
I feel like we should give you a pep talk because you have to do the New England Atlanta game.
Hey, man, I'm good. I'm good. I've had, get to go. I got friends in Boston I'm going to go have dinner with on Friday night. That's good. And it's always good to be doing a game. The most important game in the world, the one that you're doing. So I'm looking forward to Atlanta, New England. And look, there'll be some young players who get to play, and there's some guys who are playing for New England that are in their lineup now since the last time I had one of their games. And obviously I'm looking forward to seeing Hibbert in goal, and, they're giving other young guys some opportunities. We'll see Cooper Sanchez. I know he's played in the game, so we'll see if he gets out on the pitch on Saturday. So there's always storylines, and there's always something to be fired up and be excited about. So looking forward to it, fellas.
All right.
You got it, man.
Enjoy.
Yeah. Great to catch up with you guys.
Let's not wait 2 years to talk to you again. Well, maybe we'll see you next year.
Might have my Bama hat back on next time.
Yeah.
So, we'll see. All right. Take care, guys.
All right.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks for coming on.
Just come on.
Take care. Bye.
Thanks. See ya.
No, 5 to 10 games. Absolutely not. I've been holding
It's like we hit pause and then we unpause right as soon as he left.
I told him that as soon as he was gone, I was going back to it. Damn it. If you go in saying we're going to give him 5 to 10 games, like, no, you should, because you create culture in your preseason. That is where you do your bonding. You do this.
This team doesn't know how to.
It's very rare that
culture,
you can see
though.
a team rebound from firing a coach early on in the year.
Why are we talking about culture?
What's
This team
that?
doesn't know how to create culture.
I'll
Well, that's what the preseason is for. And if you fire your coach, then it's like, then you're backpedaling. You're trying to find someone quick to come in here, and then it's just a lost season.
I meant to tell Mark
May.
this. At least we aren't at the point where we're seeing fans loading up signs saying "F the GM" at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. At least we aren't.
We're not at that phase yet, but we are at the phase where the supporters are chanting, "We F in." We're F in S.
Yeah.
If you know, you know. No,
Suck?
other S word.
Close.
Oh,
Anyway.
That was during the Columbus game.
okay.
Oh yeah.
So yeah,
Let's just forget about that
was
game.
fun. But I agree with you, Tommy. I don't think you should go into a season with that mentality. But at the same time, like, Ronnie's got to have a very, very, if he is the manager going into 2026, he has to have a very, very, very short leash, in my opinion, because there's no way you're going to go through. I just don't see you going until May with a manager that this season has had the worst season the club has ever had
Mhm.
outside of COVID. And then next season gets off to a slow start.
Isn't it worse than COVID the year?
I don't know if it was worse than COVID, but
I mean, it may as well be.
it might as well be, yeah, as Sydney says. But basically, you cannot keep a manager that has had the historically worst season of the club potentially, and then gets off to a slow start in 2026. And that's why I say, like, maximum I would do the Montreal version and just give him 5 games. And then if you are not showing promise that you're getting your wins, that you are at least showing some decent soccer, that there is chemistry built, that you have an idea how to play soccer, right? That what you're doing, what the game plan is, you have an identity more or less. Okay, right? But like for me, I agree. If it were up, like, that's why I said before we brought Mark in, like, any like if this was a European league or even like Brazil or Argentina, where soccer is a way of life,
Or
right?
England.
Or Europe. But if it was any of those leagues, Ronnie would have been gone before May.
I think we all agree he's going to be on the short leash in 2026. I think we disagree on how short that leash will be. 5 games or 10 games. Or maybe something in the middle, 7 games. We'll see. Kind of talking tongue in cheek, but
yeah, I mean, you just feel like he's staying on at this point, right? Because if they were gonna change the manager, they would have done it by now, right?
No, yeah.
Because while they hire the search firm and they do their interviews, and it's just a whole.
Yeah.
That's where you lose me if you fire him at the end of the year. I've been saying this for a while, and Henry, we haven't been on together here in a while, but I mean, that's what I've been saying is, like, if you wait till the end of the year, like, the front office has lost me completely.
It makes no sense.
Because it absolutely makes no sense. That's why I keep saying, like, I think that he's going to stay, but for the fan base, for the media, like, at the end of the year, I want to hear a real good explanation on why. And I don't need, standard GM talk about. I want a legit thing and why you think that he is going to be able to turn it around. And I've heard Chris Henderson talk, and I do like how he speaks to the media. I do like how he explains things. So I'm waiting until that Monday or Tuesday, whatever it is, the end of the season conference, and see just what exactly why because he needs to explain that to the fans. The fans are owed that because it's just been so bad. And in certain cities, teams could get lost in things, and you're very lucky in Atlanta. I mean, obviously the Braves have been they did really good at the end of the season, but they obviously well under expectations. The Falcons just lost 30-0, so I don't want to talk about the Falcons for a while now. And then you've got the Hawks about to start up, which is probably the most exciting season going in years. With what they've done with their roster here, you could get lost. I mean, the Braves, obviously are expected to get better next season. You've got, who knows what the Falcons are going to end up doing, but still, you need you need to not get lost in this. And Atlanta United, like when I remember coming out for MLS Cup, I'm at CVS, and we were joking around. There was a bottle of champagne, and I said to Tina, I go, I'm gonna buy this bottle of champagne. We're gonna drink it tonight after Atlanta wins. And then she's like, no, don't do that. You're gonna jinx them. Don't do that. And this guy turns around, complete stranger. He goes, you buy that bottle. This is Atlanta United. This ain't the Braves. This ain't the Falcons. This ain't the Hawks. They're winning it. And now, like, let's go to that CVS right now, and that guy's there.
He lives
there. Don't buy that shit. Don't buy that shit. You ain't drinking that for a long time. You ain't drinking that for a long time. Like, that's how it's becoming. They are becoming.
Those were the
Falcons.
days back in 2018 when I feel like they couldn't lose.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. The confidence level was there, and we just haven't felt that in a long time. Look, and last year, obviously, we felt it for like a couple weeks there, but still, that was a weird sports moment that is rare.
Yeah.
That happens in sports, but it was pretty damn cool. But still, we're just looking for consistency. We're looking from February to October that we're enjoying the season and being able to talk about, where are we going to place in the
Yeah.
top 8.
It's
Let's
crazy
do
that
it.
this club has, for the better part of a decade, failed to find a a successor to Tata as a head coach. Because I don't. There's no one else after
Outside
him
the
that has
board,
come
maybe.
to come close. What was that?
Maybe,
No.
maybe De Boer,
Okay.
maybe,
Okay.
but at least he
We're
won a
gonna
trophy.
get into this. So here's the thing. I'm not convinced about De Boer. I
Well,
was not convinced about him at all. He won an Open Cup and a Campeones Cup. Congratulations. You did that with a team that basically rebelled against you and said, F it, we're doing it our way. That is what happened. I will just leave it at that. But everyone else that's come after, there hasn't really been anyone that has been a good successor to Tata Martino. And it's unbelievable that you've hired search firms to look far and wide and you haven't found the right guy because you end up firing them a year or two, or in the case of Pineda, 3, or Dyla, however many years later. It just seems weird to me.
yeah.
It is crazy, and I mean, earlier in the chat, since will Fernandez even come to Atlanta? Like, I mean, you have to. Clubs do get a stench to them, and right now we have a stench. We're buying. I mean, we're getting players. I mean, and it's not all bad. Obviously, you've had some players succeed here, and you were able to sell them here. But like, it's just been bad. And I understand that you've gone through a lot of coaches here, but still, I mean, you got to you need to figure this out. And if it is one more, firing to add someone else, great. But like, I mean, and Omar, I mean, put it in here, and he's not wrong. I mean, after the transfer window closed, I mean, he said it. Doug asked him about, I forget what the quote was here, but you let go of oh my gosh, now I'm brain
Pineda,
farting, last season.
or
No,
Valentino.
not
Rob
Pineda.
Valentino. Yeah.
Yeah, Rob Valentino, that he didn't win MLS Cup. Well, Ronnie Dowd's
Right.
not winning MLS Cup here, obviously. We're not
Right.
even making the playoffs. So, and he responded back that it is a results business, and I don't disagree here. So when I heard that in my mind, I'm going, okay, I definitely think that there's a possibility that's going to happen. But again, it's so late in the year. It's
Yeah.
September 24th today at 8:13, and Ronnie Dow is still our manager. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. And look, you say Rob Valentino, and Bruno appears. It's like Joe Hendry, if anybody gets that reference that's listening right now. But yeah, bring back Valentino. I mean, I go back to that moment. I just kept saying like he's not the guy, but maybe it was just a 1 year worth checking
don't
out
know.
to see what it is,
I
and
don't
then
know.
go from there. I don't know. I again, this is 10 months, 11 months, in the
Yeah.
future, and knowing what you're getting. So it's not fair to say
Can
that.
I
But
can I add something real quick? So Brett, shout out to Brett because he wrote an article on the what's it called, the Sideline Soapbox, on our website. Great article. Y'all should definitely go check it out.
Yep.
And y'all
Amazing.
can go and pen your own, write your own article to put on our website, where you can share your opinions or anything.
You didn't put mine on there. It just said it was 2 words. It was Fairani.
That'd be a little bit longer than that, Tommy.
You have to elaborate a little bit more. You have to make it more poetic. But yeah, one of his points was, the fans, to win over the fans, you probably need something exciting, something that will give them a reason to come back to see a different product. And one of those things, the biggest thing that you can do right now is change the manager. Well, we've talked about that a lot, right? But my thing is, okay, say you do fire Ronnie. How can fans, what do fans have to latch onto as far as like faith in this front office finding a manager that will work. Because last time you spent, what was it, 8 months finding, hiring your search firm and your interviews and all that. You came up with Ronnie Dyla, and best case scenario, or sorry, worst case scenario, you're firing him before his first full season's over, right? Assuming that happens. Unless you go and get one of these big names, like a Xavi or a Southgate or heck a Tata, that's something that people kind of know, right? Which again, I think those names are not the types of names that this club would go for.
Right.
So first of all, I don't think they're ambitious enough to do it. Second of all, I don't know how they. I just don't think they would go for those types of managers, and they don't have MLS experience except for Tata. So Tata's like the most realistic one.
Yeah.
But if you don't get a manager, if you get like an unknown, right? Like random whoever, like a Jesper Sorensen almost was, right? Before we knew that he was actually a baller. What do fans have to latch onto as far as faith that, okay, you hit on the right guy this time. Like this is going to make this club better. How do you believe in this front office again is my question.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. All right. We got the drawing here real quick. Henry, I hope you're still tracking our predictions.
That's been gone for a while.
But
Jackson's gone for a while.
I was in like third. Stupid Jackson. All right. What is your prediction?
My prediction for this game, New England. I don't know, because Atlanta fending off San Diego and then almost coming back to tie Columbus makes me think that they might be decent enough to win against New England. But however,
there's a but.
However,
okay.
This team loves to play down to the level of their opponents, and they are going away. They've only won away once this season. I'm going to say 2-1 New England.
I'm saying 1-1. Say another 1-1. It's going to be another draw. These two teams can't score. These two teams are out of the playoffs. It's going to be 1-1. Sort of boring drop in Foxborough. Tommy, what do you think?
Well, in our Discord, I put up a poll, and I think it was 53% said it was going to be a draw.
What do you say, though?
Well, no, I just wanted to throw that out there. That's what the masses in the Discord. So this is the time to say it. Join the Patreon, patreon.com/Garth and Spike. See, I was trying to do a bit. You interrupt my bit. Join us. We do watch-alongs. You could. We have a new channel in there, so anyone can join along, hop on video, and not hop on video, but talk to people. And this week's a great time to do it. It's a road game. What are you doing on Saturday? If you're not watching the Georgia or Alabama game or Oregon Penn State, come in there, chat with some other fans about the game. And then you get extra drawings in the when we give away stuff like we're about to do. I think that this game is going to be exactly what my friend Bruno says, and it is going to be a 2-2 draw.
2-2. Oh,
it's going to be ugly.
I feel like it's a little bit more.
And it's a lot of goals.
A lot of goals. I don't know if I don't know if these two teams combined for 4 goals. I don't know.
Well, and every time you say that, you're right. So thanks for ruining.
That's just my guess.
For ruining everyone's
that's just my
draw
guess.
Night. It's going to be 1-1 draw. It's going to be boring. Like I'm hoping for excitement, but I think that there's some goals in there. I think Atlanta's going to come back with a little bit of confidence, and they're going to be up 2-1, and New England's going to tie it.
Yeah, because of a really dumb giveaway by someone. That's how it always goes.
Hopefully not.
Yeah, and Zilf says 2-0.
If we get to our drawing,
all right.
Let's give
Are we ready?
The moment you've all been waiting for.
You have the wheel.
I'm so proud of this wheel.
Is it really good?
I am like. How do we get this guy out of this?
You're driving
here. Well, I know. Get Henry out of here. We don't need him in here. But when I made this wheel, I hit a button. 5-2. Wow. Omar says 5-2. Sorry, I'm distracted. Everybody go ooh when you see this. All right, you ready? I know you're gonna say it.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Yeah. Got the
Nice.
logo in there. It's got all the names. So 2 people are winning EAFC. So we will reach out to you, whether you are on Blue Sky, if the 3 people that entered on there, or Instagram or Twitter. We'll get you. So the first winner.
Who do we got? Who's gonna win?
111
Wow.
entries were in this.
I think it's one of our biggest giveaways ever. Grant C. Thomas. We will reach out
Grant
to you
C.
to
Thomas.
get to your copy of EA Sports FC.
Congratulations, Grant.
Absolutely. All right.
One more.
Nervous.
Uno
All right.
mas.
One more.
Who's it going to be? It's
John Pittman.
John Pittman.
That's my guy,
Pittman.
John.
John's in the chat right
Well done,
there.
guys.
All
John,
right.
congratulations. You've won yourself a copy of EAFC 26.
Congrats. This was fun, guys. Thanks for entering. Like I said, I think it was one of our biggest giveaways we've ever done. So thanks for entering. Thanks for following us on X, Blue Sky, Instagram, Threads, Facebook, what have you. Really appreciate your support.
John is a very nice person. I hung out when I got stuck in Atlanta when Delta went down. I went to
Very
a Braves
nice.
game with John.
That's
We
cool.
hung out.
Did the race win?
Went to the game, and he showed me around.
You don't remember?
No.
It'll be par for the course this season, I feel like.
No, but he showed Tina
It's
and I
nice of
around,
him.
and it was a
was
it
nice
was a
of him.
magical time. Yeah, absolutely. And then someone asked, sent me a message like, "Oh, did EAFC give you it?" No, we're buying it for you.
Yeah.
That's
Because
us.
we love you so much.
We like to give back
Exactly.
here. No, we like to give back here, and the EFC thing's a thing that we've been doing for the past couple of years, and we enjoy it. So, now, real quick, before we go, I'm just saying that
Go on.
Henry is going to come out to your house and clean it completely.
What? All
He's
right,
going to
let's
clean
roll
your
the
house.
credits.
How
Let's roll
many-
the
I don't know what he's
credits.
going to do.
I
It's
did
like
not
the
agree
fifth
to
time
this.
it's like the fifth time you've done this bit. On the
You can't.
Dude, it's never going to get old in my mind. You ask my kids. All the bits that I do, they never end.
do
All
this.
right. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out. Thank you for entering. Thank you for all the Atlanta United gifts that you did. That's my favorite thing to do on these
Yeah.
contests because I need happy moments and seeing fun Atlanta United gifts. So thank you, because that was fun today
Yeah.
to look all that out. So, and
Music, man.
Mr. Turner,
Music.
There you go.
hit the music. There's no scandal. I've felt like I've talked so much that I don't really have I have too much else to say at this point. I got through 3 of those neutrals in here. Now I'm about to
You
go
got
play some Mario
drink
Party.
3
What are
of
you guys
them?
doing tonight?
Oh.
I drank 3 of them. Yeah. I texted my son to bring them down for me. I was like, neutral me.
Just reloaded
Put another one
mid-show.
down, and then another one. Yeah, and sometimes and then when Tina's around, like gummy me, and then she
Gummy,
brings one
eh.
down. Yeah. All right, well, come back on Sunday.
Saturday.
We'll talk about this match Sunday.
Pre-match
Well,
show.
Saturday too. We'll talk about lineups, and then I don't know what we're gonna be doing after that, but
Show us your EFC squads.
well,
The people that won, especially.
yeah, it's a lot of fun. And if anybody does have EAFC and they do want to play us, let's do it. And I learned how to stream on Twitch now because I'm an adult, and so we can stream it to our
Very
channel,
nice.
and that'd be fun.
All right. See you
All right.
guys.
Thanks,
See y'all.
everyone.